Welcome to the Bougie Baldie Podcast with your host, Kellie Rhymes.
Society promotes beautiful long hair. They promote that as beauty. And because society promotes that as beauty, many women out here feel like if they don't have this long, beautiful hair, they're ugly. And that is far from the truth. Oh, I see you cut your hair. And I'm like, yeah. But then she's like, but don't you want to just leave a little bit of hair? Once again, did you ask me what was going on, why I cut my hair? And so out of respect, because she was an older lady, in my mind, I wanted to say, do you know me like that? Like, you don't know me like that, right?
Yeah. I just feel like we have reached a pinnacle in society where there is a lack of respect for people that are different than you. Yeah. And I think it becomes a broader conversation that we need to have because everybody is different and we all have the right to be different.
Yes. A lot of times when people approach us in a negative manner, it's because of a character defect or flaw that they have in their personality.
Mm-hmm. I think that us, along with the rest of the community, that we have some work to do because a lot of the questions and approaches that we get from folks who are not in the community is, I think, out of ignorance. And as Baldies, I think we have the responsibility to start to educate and reach out more so that people can be aware and understand what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
So I just left the office like, look, guess I'll just be wearing this wig. Didn't even know how to buy a wig at first. Looking a hot mess. Went to the beauty supply with my 60-some-year-old cousin because she wore a wig. And I'm like, I need help. And she like, okay. And we just trying to pick something out. It was a hot mess.
Yes, you don't think that bald women look good in a gown? Well, let me show you. Yes, we do. And we can still get glammed up. And we still look classy. And we still look beautiful.
But it was still very emotional when I first lost my hair and having to touch my head and see it in my hand and was just like, okay, this is very real.
She took my hand. She took my face on my hands and he said, honey, you are beautiful, but you really need to comb your hair. She said, I suggest you find a wig that you like and go from there. And I left her office bawling, but I also felt so good because for the first time someone told me something that actually made sense to me.
Right now, I could grow my hair back out, but I love being bald, so I don't. So I still feel those questions of, so when are you gonna grow your hair back up? Are you growing your hair back out? No, I'm not, because like Denisha said, I was born to be bald.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Bougie Baldie Podcast. If you don't know me, my name is Kellie Rhymes. I am a women's hair loss support and authenticity coach. And now I can add TV producer onto my title because we now have the Bougie Baldie TV show that you guys can go check out. And I'll talk about that a little bit at the end of the podcast. I'll tell you where you can go find it and all of the information about the TV show. But welcome once again to the Bougie Baldie Podcast. Now today we have another wonderful guest who has a lot of knowledge that she will be sharing with us today. So let me read a little bit about her, okay? So today we have Crystal E. Porter, who is a PhD. So I'm going to say Dr. Crystal. So when you hear me say Dr. Crystal, you know who I'm talking about, all right? She is a hair scientist and the founder of Main Insights, Inc., where she leads research on the unique hair and scalp needs of people of African descent. As the founder and executive director of the Association of Professional Trichologists, she drives the advancement of trichology through education, advocacy, professional support. Dr. Porter is dedicated to dispelling myths, empowering evidence-based hair care, and developing innovative solutions for personalized hair health. Her patented methodologies equip professionals with the scientific insights needed to deliver tailored client care. Welcome to the Bougie Baldie Podcast, Dr. Crystal.
Thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity to share.
Yeah, well, I'd had to have you on here. So for those of you who may be just joining us or don't know, myself and Dr. Crystal, we actually met on LinkedIn. I reached out to her. We've been connected for a while, but we never actually hopped on a phone call and just talked to get to know each other. So when we finally were able to do that, I was like, yeah, I have to have you on the podcast. She is very knowledgeable. And I initially thought that Dr. Crystal was a trichologist, and I didn't realize there was more behind her. She is a hair scientist. Okay, so we're going to get into that. I'm going to let her explain the difference between the two so that you guys can really understand what a hair scientist is. So, Dr. Crystal, you have an undergrad in biochemistry and a PhD in chemistry. So can you explain how that sets you apart as a hair scientist versus a traditional trichologist?
Right. So the degrees don't necessarily equate to me becoming a hair scientist. That was just the foundational knowledge that I obtained, and which got me in the door. And so the biggest part of what sets me apart is my training. So as a undergraduate, I got training like most undergraduates would get in chemistry and biochemistry. But for my PhD, I did research, and it was more polymer science. And when I say polymer science, it was more about the mechanical or understanding the mechanical properties of polymer materials. So if you think about plastics, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about hair extensions during the podcast. So if you think about hair extensions, the synthetic ones, that is like the type of material that I would test to understand how it behaves, like how does heat impact the integrity of the hair. And so that set the foundation for a company called Unilever. That's where I got my start in cosmetic science. And they saw my background and they hired me because that was a way my background prepared me to be able to understand the impact of what you do day in and day out with your hair. So the environmental stresses, the products that you use, how you manipulate your hair. So all those different variables on hair quality. So that's what laid the foundation for me to be a hair scientist. And so I can understand a lot of people do think that I am a trichologist because they say, oh, if you are the founder of the Association of Professional Trichologists, they say, oh, you must be a trichologist. But if you break down the word of trichology, it really does mean the study of hair. So hair is the trichos part, and then ology is the study of, so study of hair.
Okay.
And trichologists are traditionally, mostly, not all the time, but they could have an expertise in cosmetology or, being a hairstylist. And they get more understanding or deeper understanding about diseases of the hair and scalp. So people have different definitions. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole, but that basically is what sets someone apart from being just a hairstylist. They have a better understanding, or they have studied more about diseases of the hair and scalp. And so while I have that background as a scientist, I personally do not touch hair that is on someone's head, unless they're a friend of mine and, we're playing around with hair, just being, girls.
Okay.
But for the most part, I don't manipulate people's hair. And most trichologists have some degree of manipulation, unless they have a remote business where they give advice based on the information that they know. They can acquire information about what's going on with their particular clients and maybe help them from afar. But most trichologists do have a hands-on approach in serving those who have a problem with their hair and scalp.
Okay. So with your degrees, what made you say, you know what, I want to specifically focus on hair? Like, what made you just go in that direction?
Yeah, so if I'm brutally honest, I have to say that it chose me and I didn't choose it.
Okay.
I actually had two job offers when I was graduating. And the first job offer I wanted to take, but it would have required me to move to a place in the US that my husband was like, nope, I'm not going there. So I'm not going to put any shade on that place. I actually still think it's a fine place to be, but he wasn't interested in moving. And so by default, I actually landed in what I said at Unilever. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was a very, very good decision. I've met and worked with people who are fantastic. And yeah, that is what laid the foundation for me to become a hair scientist.
Okay, interesting, interesting. So it fell in your lap.
It did. It did.
All right, so let's kind of move on because I want to know more about like toxins and things in hair extensions because we've heard things like in the last, I want to say probably over a year ago, probably now, where people started talking about braiding hair, how it has toxins and things and just all kinds of things that we did not know, which we'll get into that. I'll let you explain. But the research has basically shown that some of the hair, I'm not going to say all, but some of the synthetic hair has like formaldehyde or other toxins in it. So what are those long-term health risks and like what comes with that? If you have that type of hair that has those toxins in it, how can that pose a health risk to someone out there? And how can manufacturers be held accountable?
Mm. So let me first talk about how that even came about, So Consumer Reports at the beginning of last year, if I'm not mistaken, came out with an article that talked about how they did analysis on different types of hair extension brands. And they found a number of, I'm going to say chemicals in quotes. And the reason why I put chemicals in quotes is because everybody thinks that anything that is a chemical is bad, but everything that we interact with on Earth is a chemical. And so I want to first and foremost say that as a chemist. And so they had a number of ingredients that make up the hair extensions that can be of a concern. And they had an explanation about the analysis that they did in terms of the dosage and the degree of danger based on what you can consume and eat. And no one is eating any of the hair fibers. Well, I mean, there is a condition where, you do eat hair fibers, but if you don't, most people are going to be okay. But there is the propensity of, whatever you treat the hair with or how you manufacture the fibers that can be of concern. And what I mean by that, for example, a lot of synthetic fibers are made of polyvinyl chloride or PVC, acrylics like Credentialing is an acrylic, and nylons and even some polyesters. But here's the thing. I gave you all the different types of plastics that hair can be made of, but that is an unregulated area. And so no one who manufactures these fibers are made to tell you what it is. They don't have to tell you what the process is. They don't have to tell you about the solvents. And when I say solvent, that is something like, I'll just keep it simple. If you put salt in water, water is the solvent. It's what the salt is dissolved in. And so when you have plastics and you extrude it, you want to soften the plastic in such a way. And usually that softener is the solvent. Now, those solvents, the residual solvents, actually can possibly be irritants. They could be dangerous. but we haven't done the studies to know whether or not that is true. So we really don't know what the long-term impact or short-term impact. Everyone has different tolerances. So we don't know what is the overall impact of having that type of exposure. And so in theory, you can say, oh, it's probably nothing, but we don't know. And until there's data to tell us one way or the other, even if it's applied topically or we are exposed to it through just a topical exposure, we really don't know the impact of it.
Okay. So based off of that case study, do you know if they're doing further research to find that information out, or like you said, it's unregulated, so why would they spend the time and energy and money to do it?
Yeah. And so, but one thing that I want to say is when I say unregulated, people put everything under the umbrella of, oh, it's not regulated. Most cosmetics are, but the hair extensions are really flying under the radar. There has been no reason for them to be incorporated into the cosmetic umbrella, even though they are. But having said that, with most cosmetics, it is really on the honor system in terms of you doing the right thing, you doing all the safety testing, making sure that there aren't any hazards. And in theory, if it's only, some plastic on the skin, in theory, okay, we have that all the time, right? We actually wear nylon. So that's something that we're used to. It really is those solvents that we just have a big question mark on and about. So we need to demand as consumers, we need to be educated and to say, hey, you haven't done your due diligence, or we don't know if you've done your due diligence. Prove to us that this is safe. So
Okay.
we don't know, and it's up to us to make sure that manufacturers do. And so because of that, there are some brands out there that have come out, and two are on the top off the top of my head. Nori is one fiber where it is an engineered fiber to be safe and has been tested for safety. Rebundle is another one. That's the banana fibers. And so as long as those are processed in such a way that it is safe, and I know that those two in particular are conscientious about wanting to make sure that they have done their due diligence and to show that they've done their due diligence. But I honestly don't know of any, well, there are some other brands that say they're natural, natural fibers as well. But we have to ask even them, because just because it's natural does not mean that the process of them getting the fiber to the way that it's, usable, it doesn't mean that it isn't put through a process. So you have to challenge everybody. I don't care if they say it's naturally based or not.
I think that's what everything these days. We gotta question everything.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Oh, yes, we do.
Okay, so now, okay, I know for women in general, I'm not gonna even just say Black women, but women in general, hair care is addictive. Because we want to look nice. Again, society tells us, we need to look a certain type of way, and that's what beauty is, and this and that, and so that drives women to go out, get their hair done, use these different products, use these different wigs, extensions, whatever it may be, right? And so some people may think of the beauty industry as that they're playing a part in racketeering, because they know women are going to spend the money on these products, and they don't necessarily maybe care. Not, and I'm not going to put everybody in the beauty industry in this bowl, but some companies don't necessarily care about what's in their products or how it may harm people or different things like that. So how do you think that companies are exploiting the insecurities of women in general, or even just Black women? Because I know we like to do all types of things to our hair. So do you think that they are even exploiting insecurities in women, or what is your opinion on that?
Ooh, that is so. Let me start off by talking about my personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very fortunate because I've worked for two of the largest beauty companies in the world. So Unilever was the first, but the biggest is L'Oreal. And so I spent over 10 years at L'Oreal. And from those two experiences personally, I cannot say that anyone, even the higher ups, I don't think that, I mean, while anytime you have a business or a company, big corporation, of course, dollars and cents, really influence what is done. But the people who make the decisions about what is put out there, and the research to make sure that things are safe, they've done their due diligence. The bigger companies are not the ones that I'm concerned about.
Okay. Okay.
Because, and I'm not saying that people should only buy from larger companies. That's not my point. My point is they're actually too large to, I don't want to say too large to fail, but they're too large to take risks because they have a lot to lose.
Right.
And so they cross their T's and dot their I's, do extensive, most of the time, over and beyond safety testing to make sure that their products not only meet industry standards, but also to make sure that, they aren't harming anyone that buys their products. Now,
Okay.
having said that, I was really shocked when I left corporate America and I found out through talking to business owners who just, to be honest, don't know any better or haven't been pushed to do better because they have a good marketing story or they know how to, they have the gift of gab. I'll just say that. They know how to influence people to buy their product. And just because something works very well does not necessarily mean that it's made in a way that it is going to be safe for you in the long term. For example, product stability is extremely important. You have to test for that. You have to test for microbial resistance. You want to make sure that there's nothing growing in your formulation. I mean, so there are a number of things that you should go through. Product labeling, I mean, it's a lot of different things that anyone who sells products needs to be aware of. And because we've heard oftentimes of people getting started in their kitchen, you just, you look and you say, oh, this ingredient seems to be good. This ingredient seems to be good. And you mix it up and then you put it in a bottle and you start testing it on your friends and family, for example. That is a way that some people have gotten started, but you risk, if you don't know any better and don't have any formalized training, you risk doing things the wrong way where you can inadvertently cause harm.
Okay.
And so it's the smaller companies that I'm more worried about because I could not tell you how many smaller companies weren't doing things correctly. And so now and I have to have a plug for the Society of Cosmetic Chemists because there are chapters, most places of the United States. And so you can actually join a chapter or find someone who's a part of a chapter so that you can get the information that you need. But like I said before, it's up to us as consumers to make sure that we ask those questions and to say, okay, how do I know this is safe? Can you provide me with data or so it's hard for smaller companies to get data, and that's actually why I exist. I want to help the smaller companies or those who want to sell products to get data so that they can do things the right way. And I want to connect them with people who can be of assistance. So, but at the end of the day, I don't think that anyone is out to get us. Not to say that sometimes people say things or, I think about the influencers, for example. They have said some things that, are partially true, but there are some people you can follow to, get more information who comes off the top of my head is Jen Novakovic. She owns she is over the
Okay.
Eco Well. You see, my mind is in here. Eco Gel. The Eco Well is her platform, and she provides free information to consumers and to professionals, and she has a plethora of different videos that people can really immerse themselves in to become more knowledgeable about what it is they buy and for things that they want to make. So for aspiring professionals and for those who just want to have a little bit more information. But I really don't think that anyone is in the business to do harm. I think they want to do good, and most smaller businesses, I just think are just ignorant. They don't know what they should be doing. I know that
Okay.
was kind of long-winded.
No. It was an explanation that was needed. And you emphasize once again that us as consumers need to do our own research and due diligence and speak up. And I know, sometimes just especially in the world right now with everything happening, that is not necessarily our focus, but that's the only way that change is going to be made is if we speak up and say
Mhm.
something about it and push for changes to be made, right?
Absolutely.
Now, I know you said that most companies and businesses aren't out to get us, which I don't think they are. I do not, but I do know that there are companies that do make false claims to make a sale, and that's
Mhm.
just the business world in general. It's not just the hair industry. So, in your work, have you heard or what has been the most egregious example you've seen of a company that maybe making false claims? And what should people like consumers look out for as far as, spotting the storytelling or the lies?
Mm. So this is one that is very straightforward before I go into the nuances. One that's very straightforward is if you read on the label that it has no chemicals. I just started this interview saying that everything that we are surrounded by is a chemical. So if
Mhm.
they have no chemicals on the label, I think all cosmetic chemists have this perspective that that is just a ridiculous claim that anyone can make. So that is the most egregious, incorrect claim. And it means that they really don't have an appreciation for chemistry, to be honest with you. Because anyone who knows chemistry should just shouldn't put that on there.
Mhm.
But I think the nuanced answer to that question has to deal with everyone puts on labels what people want to see.
Mhm.
So when you say, no parabens or no, trying to think of another one. No silicones. It may not have those in it, but it's very misleading. Um, and I want to say the nuance is people have in their own mind what they want to buy or like ingredients that they want to see. And it doesn't always mean that those ingredients are good for you because I have found out like as I'm getting older,
Mhm.
products that I used to be able to use, I can no longer use them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's very upsetting because they work for me and I am not a product junkie. And so when I have to go find something else, I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
this isn't working for me anymore. And not that it's not working for functionally for my hair. It means that my body is responding in a negative way and I just can't use it anymore. So, when people say, oh, this is all natural, it could be all natural, but it doesn't mean that it's right for your body.
Okay.
And that's the nuance and thing that we have to be in tune enough with our body to know what's not good for us or when our body is going to reject it and show signs one way or the other with itching or redness or even neurological symptoms. You could
Mhm.
actually, feel that something is different. And then it'll go away if you stop the product and then it'll come back when you resume it. And so sometimes it's like a experiment that you have to do with yourself just to, play around with what is compatible with your body. And your body is not the same from day to day. Everyone is talking about how the environment is influencing our health. And that has to do with not only what we eat and what we're around, but also what we put on our bodies. And the other thing that I hear a lot of people talking about is, oh, if I can eat it, then it's going to be good for me to apply topically. And that is not true either. And so we sometimes tell ourselves things that sound logical, but it really isn't.
And I'm glad you said that, because I know for myself, when I had hair and I would use different products, I never thought about, oh, this is making me feel this way or that way. So the fact that we need to start paying attention to those, because, some people will do that. Some people do pay attention to how products make them feel. But I think that comes as we get older. When we're younger, we're like, oh no, let me just use it. Everybody's using this, and they said this works, so I'm using it too, and not even considering if it's causing the dandruff or, causing reactions on your scalp. You're just like, oh, okay, keep it moving. Because I know that's exactly how I was. And I know a lot of my friends, I mean, we never really, when we were younger, I should say, did not question what we were putting in our hair or what we were doing. Because, when you're young, you're just like, okay, we're just going with it.
And I've been a scientist in training for a very long time, and I was the same. So I don't want you to think that.
So I'm glad you pointed that out, because there are some young people on here and people just of all ages that need to really understand you got to start paying attention to your body and how your body responds to different things.
Yes.
Yes. So now let's talk about maybe some change in the industry and pushing for change. So are there any specific reforms that you may be fighting for, or someone to that consumers can support to help change how the industry, like the wig industry or maybe just synthetic hair or anything in the hair industry? Are there any specific reforms you may be kind of fighting for that we could support?
That's really, it's nice that you asked that question. And I'm biased because the first thing that came to mind is the Association of Professional Trichologists. So while I am not a trichologist, even though I definitely fit the definition of trichology, the study of hair, that is one of my passions, because as a researcher, my opinion is that there's so many more questions than there are answers. And me and my peers and colleagues, there aren't enough of us to be able to make the impact that is needed in the industry. And so when I first got started and I wanted to collaborate with hairstylists, I found out that they weren't very forthcoming with a lot of information, and they almost acted as though they felt threatened, even though, I mean, I cannot say that I was not the reason for that. I know that sometimes when we have white collar jobs and we may speak a certain way or ask questions, because I'm always asking questions, that could make someone uncomfortable. So I'm not saying that I wasn't the reason for some of the stylists being guarded. But I wanted to partner because I see that there is a way for us to collaborate where it's a win-win, where we can, as researchers, answer some of the questions that we have, like formulation questions. The hairstylists have their fingertips literally in the data that we as researchers need. And so when I wanted to collaborate, I found trichologists were the ones who I think were more conscientious, because when you study cosmetology, you're given foundational knowledge about how to style hair. But when there is no hair, then what? And so some hairstylists are like, I don't want to deal with that issue that you're having with your hair. I got trained to do hair. I want to make you look and feel beautiful. I want to deal with people with hair, and they don't get education on things that could be causing some of the problems of people not having hair, or those who don't have hair. So the trichologists were the natural fit for me to start partnering with so I can like train the most trichologists and very few hairstylists, but mostly trichologists to help me collect data to become research assistants. So my passion, I gave that as a backdrop because my passion is for the field of trichology that does not have worldwide standards. So the definition of trichology is pretty much the same everywhere in the world, but the way they practice trichology differs vastly. Here in the United States, there really is not, I mean, they have entities that teach the fundamentals, but not everyone is aligned. Like, for example, if you go to an accredited university, there's, a foundational set of standards that you must adhere to. That does not exist in trichology. So that is what the Association of Professional Trichologists, that is what our mission is. We want to be able to raise standards, and set the standards and do credentialing to make sure that when the general public is looking for someone who needs an expertise, that they actually can find someone who actually is conscientious about making sure that they are aligned with an organization who can have those standards. So when we start our credentialing at the end of this year, that is something that we are proud of, and we are not doing it ourselves. This is something that we believe is best done when you collaborate with others, because as I said, all around the world is done differently. So why would we try to reinvent the wheel when there are experts in other parts of the world who can actually give us the foundational information? And so when we go to have the credentialing, we'll have subject matter experts from people all over the world, so that when the public needs to rely on someone, they can come to the Association of Professional Trichologists, look at the membership directory, and have a higher amount of confidence that this person is going to be able to serve them. And so when we start having the standards, then, everyone will have to elevate.
And that brings me to my next point, which I want to say this first. I think I was speaking with you, I think it was, or someone else, when I learned, because when I thought about trichology, I just thought everybody went through the same level of training and became a trichologist, which I learned, no, there are different levels of training, different levels of trichology. But let's go into trichology, and then it's not a medical degree, right? It isn't a medical degree per se, right?
Not to my knowledge, not to my
Right.
So let me back up.
Okay.
Here in the United States, it is not that way. But there are professionals who do practice trichology who are medical doctors in other parts of the world. So while that training does not exist here in the United States, it does not mean that elsewhere. So my mindset was thinking about the US when I said that. But yes, they can be medical doctors in other parts of the world.
So they could be medical doctors with training as a trichologist.
Yes, where their focus is on diseases of the hair and scalp, because not all physicians have the knowledge or expertise to be able to navigate the nuances, because you have to consider so many other variables that could be the cause of some of the ailments that people have. For example, a lot of women of African descent do not cleanse their hair every day or every 2 days or every week sometimes. So these are things that need to be considered when you are recommending a treatment, or when you are making suggestions in terms of how someone should style their hair for the particular ailment or issue that the patient would be having. So you have to understand all the different types of alopecia because there are several. And
Yes.
so you have to be trained in that, even if you are a physician, and not all physicians are trained that way.
Okay, so that people aren't misled, right? We have medical doctors who have a training and specializations or certifications in trichology. Then we
Usually,
have
well, they have in other parts of the world, yes.
in other parts of the world, yes.
Yes.
But then here, okay, so in the we're going to talk about the United States.
Okay.
So
Okay.
in the United States, then we have cosmetologists or people who can get trichology certifications or trainings and call themselves trichologists, right?
That is what is being done. Wait, can they
Okay.
do it? Yeah, they can. Can it be misleading? Yes, because not all, some people call themselves trichologists and they've only gotten a 1 day course overview in trichology and they put on a white coat and call themselves a trichologist,
Okay.
which no one is stopping them from doing that because there's no standards.
Right. So
So
what credentials should we as consumers trust? When somebody says, I am a trichologist, what credentials should we be looking for or asking for?
that's an excellent question. Because it depends on, no, I'll just say blanket. You want to talk to someone who, of course, has been trained. And I am most entities that have training in trichology. There are several out there. And not all of them are created equal, which is fine. I think people should be, able to do things independently. But from my understanding, there's always things that change and always things to continue to learn, especially if you stay abreast of science and stay abreast of uh, all the different ailments and different situations that people are in that will cause some of the problems that we see. So, what people should be looking for is someone who, of course, has significant training. Programs will last anywhere from 6 months to, over a year, because some are go at your own pace. I can't say that one professional educational entity is better than the other. But there are some out there that have at least state standards. So that's a little bit of oversight that is a plus as well. Some have like a foundation. Well, some trichology entities actually have a university that they may be affiliated with. So you can get uh, education, but have like a degree affiliated with it. Now while you can't get a PhD in trichology, you could get a degree in like a health sciences with an emphasis in trichology, where you get the best of both worlds in as far as what exists now, the best of both worlds in terms of what exists now. I can in the future envision there being a program of trichology that's affiliated with a university, but that does not exist yet. So just making sure that they have a scientific, evidence-based approach. There are people who say that they can help people, but there's no evidence of it. And when I say that, I mean that, yes, some people have before and after pictures, but it's really best to be able to have some hardcore data to say, hey, the health of your scalp went from this to this. You actually have data to dictate and show that you have a history of changing the state of people's scalp from an unhealthy state to a healthy state. And so as science advances, trichologists should be able to utilize and leverage some of those advancements and be able to show you with data differences that they're making. It's not always affiliated with where they came from, because just like anybody who gets education, not everybody can get everything that you should get, but you have to make sure that you do your diligence as a consumer and as a client to just ask, hey, how many people have you helped? How long have you been practicing? Have you had mentorship by someone who actually has more? Because I'm not throwing shade on people who are early career trichologists either, because you got to start from somewhere. But if they are under the tutelage of someone who is respected and has a history of helping people, that goes far as well. So just asking all the right questions. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask me in terms of, well, is this important, that important? I can definitely help out too.
Okay, great, great. Now let's get into your YouTube channel, okay? So you have a YouTube channel called Our Black Hair Matters, and it breaks down hair science. So what is one myth about Black hair structure that even stylists get wrong?
Oh my gosh. This is going to be controversial and I don't care. But when a hairstylist or anyone says that hair is hair, like all hair, it just has a curl, but the hair is all the same. I do not agree with that, but there are a number of people in the industry who do hair who would disagree with me. And I have seen it in the lab and I've seen it in real life, that the state of your hair is going to dictate what needs to be done, or the health of it. And then if you're having problems and you are unhappy with it, then sometimes you need to know a little bit more about the baseline quality of your hair. But hair is not hair. All hair is unique in terms of the structure, in terms of the shape of hair. Not everyone has the same shape on one head. Not everyone knows how to deal. Of course, the density is another factor. And when people sometimes say, "Oh, I want my hair to look like that," that may not be achievable just based on the shape of your hair, the density of your hair, the cut of your hair, who's taking care of your hair, the quality, like that snapshot in terms of your hair history. What have you been doing to get it into the condition that it's in? Your hair is going to need something that is unique for that snapshot in time. And so you have to get, a professional who knows what they're doing to actually analyze the hair and help you through the process sometimes. There are some people who are very patient who can, figure that out on their own. But there is not a one size fits all approach that's going to be good for everyone.
Got it. Okay. So you guys out there, if you're listening to the podcast, you should go check out her YouTube channel, Our Black Hair Matters. And I'll also put the link to the YouTube channel in the description of this podcast. So I'll have her website, the YouTube channel, and an article that Dr. Crystal wrote as well. So you guys can check all of that out. Now, before we wrap up, I want to talk about any future projects. What are you working on, or what research are you doing that you may want to share, you're excited about, so that people can look forward to it?
Yeah, so I would say the exciting thing that's being done, and I mentioned this earlier, is I am trying to help smaller businesses to actually get the data. And I am training practitioners of mostly practitioners of trichology, those who want to become research assistants. I am helping to make sure that they have the foundational knowledge to be able to help with research. That is like the future, I believe.
Okay.
There's so much information out there. There's so much potential for us to know more, but we need to really hone in and be able to get at that data, make sense of it, and disseminate that information. And so there's a project that actually my daughter started when she was in high school. And we are just on the edge of being able to get that research published. And it's been over 10 years now. But you'll be seeing more publications, not only that being a foundational way of looking at how the state of your scalp can dictate whether or not you have a higher propensity of hair loss. So these are foundational research efforts that will get to that as we build upon it. And so I went from that to trying to lock, arms with practitioners. So there will be research that will come out that will be based on authorship of a list of practitioners who will be able to be authors because they have contributed to collecting the data for us all to have knowledge and to grow from it. And so when you know more, then you can do better and everyone will benefit as a result. So that's what's coming down the pipe. And of course, the Association of Professional Trichologists, because as we grow, our goal is to make sure that the public has a resource where they can get the treatment that they deserve, and to also continue to educate trichologists and make sure that they are forthcoming with making sure that they have the evidence and can present themselves as such. So that is, the other thing that I want to mention is in terms of research. Unfortunately, the Black population, and when I say Black population, I'm talking about, people who come from the African diaspora.
Okay.
We don't like to participate in studies. And that's at a detriment to us because there are things that are unique to us. And we spoke earlier about some cultural things, the way we wear our hair, the different types of products that we put in the hair, the cleansing frequency. There are so many other variables that set us apart that if we don't incorporate some of those variables in understanding and participating, when we participate in research, we can't be helped. We won't know if, I'll say, the hair extension brand B is harming us more than extension brand C if we're not willing to let scientists get the data to determine that. So we can't help our population if we don't have anything to go by. And so one thing that I want to take the opportunity to say is we need people to find trusted scientists. And I mean, I don't know if you consider me trusted or not, but I am passionate about not having the data owned by a corporation. The data that I have is going to come into the light of the public. And so, but we need people to participate in studies. So that is one thing that I do want to take the opportunity to say.
So where can people, excuse me, where can people learn or find out about when you publish your research, or if you have a study that you want people to participate in, where can they learn more about that information or find out about it when it comes out?
Yeah, contact me on my website. There is a contact us tab or, on the menu. So click on that, contact me, not for the research, but if they want to participate, that is an area. The other thing is in terms of when the research comes out, I will definitely be making my circuits. I will let everyone aware, like all of the different talking platforms, including yours that I've been on. I will definitely make you aware because the platforms I'm on really are geared towards making sure that the public has information, and that's what we want. We want the public to get the information, especially evidence-based information. And while it's not going to answer all the questions there are out there, we're definitely well on our way to be able to get that information out. So it's just a pleasure. Yeah.
Yes. And of course, again, you guys, I will make sure all of her information is in the show notes. So if you did not catch it, make sure you check the show notes and get those links. Okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Crystal, for coming on and sharing all of this wonderful information with us, things that we had no clue about, which is the point of the podcast, is to educate and entertain our listeners. So thank you so much for coming on and for all of the work that you do.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
All right, so we are going to wrap up this episode of the Bougie Baldie Podcast. But before I go, you guys, make sure you go check out the Bougie Baldie Show. It is an extension of this podcast, but on the show, we feature companies that have been created from women who have experienced hair loss, and they're sharing their knowledge and information about their companies and businesses. And we also have a panel on there, which I am the host, and I'm also included in the panel, where we share real stories about our hair loss journey. We give advice, we share our experiences, we cry, we laugh, we do all sorts of things. So make sure you go check out the Bougie Baldie Show. It is on the Zandra TV network, and you can find that online. Just go to www.zandratv.com, look under the lifestyle section, and you will see the Bougie Baldie Show. All right, so that's all we have for this episode of the Bougie Baldie Podcast, and I will see you on our next episode. Bye. Thank you for listening and watching the Bougie Baldie Podcast. I appreciate you as an audience member. Now, make sure you go and check out the Bougie Baldie TV show. You can watch it from any device, any smart device. All you have to do is go to ZandraTV.com and you will be able to pull up my show. It is under the lifestyle section on the menu if you don't see it on the front page. So make sure you go check it out. And if you did not get it, it's ZandraTV.com. Go ahead and click on the link in my show notes if you want to make it easier for yourself, and it'll take you directly there. I will speak to you on the next episode of the Bougie Baldie Podcast. Bye.
Thank you for watching the Bougie Baldie Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe